Excellent connection. Here we go. It's working. Something's working. Got a picture. It's a bit of a time lag. Okay, well, I think we're live on both YouTube and on Twitter, right? Okay, here we go. Hey, everybody. Just working through some of the technical challenges. Hoping this time around it'll work for the first time. Anyway, we've gone through quite a week. It's Thursday. We said we were going to do this every Thursday and every Tuesday. So we're committed to bring this to you and try to bring you some interesting new perspectives. We had an amazing week. Not really amazing, tough week in crypto land, at least for our token. It was hit pretty hard. The whole market was anticipating inflation numbers. We were all waiting for the BLS number to come out, and on the same day for the FOMC meeting to finish, and then wait for the press conference and the announcement associated with their decision in terms of how to and which way interest rates will move. Inflation came in pretty good, slightly, marginally, super marginally below what is expected, 3.3% instead of 3.4%. No YouTube. I am seeing myself on YouTube, so I don't know. Is this working, guys? Let me know in the chat. I can't see. Um, Yeah, I'm gonna just focus on YouTube. That should be still going live. I'm seeing YouTube still streaming, so I hope it's working. I'm just gonna continue, guys. If you like it on YouTube, um, okay, perfect. So we got it. Now I'm gonna have to get rid of my production team that is all remote, guys. So we're doing this all remote. Everybody's in different parts of the world, different continents. So bear with us and really appreciate you. There you go. Now we're hearing ourselves. I'm hearing myself repeat myself, and I can't see where my teammates are. I've got 500 tabs open. Most of you know what that's like. I work with a 100-inch curved screen or two 50-inch curved screens, which is amazing way to work. And once you work this way, you never go back. But that does mean you have multiple tabs, multiple browsers, all set up. But either way, coming back to inflation, we came in at 3.3. We had predicted, based on the Truflation data, we have now managed to build an algorithm that allows us to recalibrate all of our data sets to hit 99% correlation with that of to anticipate what the government comes out with. That's slowing down certain categories in our calculations, going back 6 months in the real estate category, for example, aggregating the utilities into the housing category and the weighting associated with that. All of that happens with our data sets and with an algorithm so that we try to better predict using our data and just going back in the different categories to be able to come out with a predictive number. 3.3 was our prediction. We hit that on, largely due to a couple of factors. Housing predominantly, gas prices another one, and then employment numbers were slightly down, but delinquencies in terms of credit card payments are up. Credit card consumption has been down, but less people defaulting on their payments to the credit card companies. I won't go into that too much because you can read the report. It's all out there, and we talked about that. But the market took that really well, and we pumped a little bit. The market picked up. People were excited and were anticipating a better perspective that the FOMC would share out of their meeting, or the dot plot chart, as it's called, which is the one where all the different members of the FOMC put in a voting in terms of where they think interest rates could be over the course of the next period of time. And ultimately, no interest rate movements, which was a good thing, bad thing, bit of both. But ultimately, that led to the fact that when Jerome Powell gave his presentation to the press, that he was very negative and very hawkish, as they call it, which means basically I'm ready to attack, versus dovish, which is the opposite of hawkish, and dovish is being more peaceful and friendly, and with a what do you call it when they come with the leaf, whatever. But yeah, you get what I mean. Anyway, that was the outcome of that. So we had that this week. We also had a really good outcome for, at least for Truflation. There was a really nice presentation in the CNN, mainstream media, I know, but you can see in the mainstream media, CNN wrote an article around where's inflation really heading. And in this article, they really cover Truflation and how that daily update is a more significant and relevant way to help you in your investment decisions, as well as in your anticipation of where interest rates going to go, much better. And so in yield, in terms of bonds and trading of bonds associated, and the yield related to that. Anyway, so if you want to have a look, there's a link. You'll follow our Twitter, find out more, and how Truflation data is being used. So you can read about it here. So we're pretty excited about that. This is not paid for. They came to us. They asked us about this. And so we're really excited to be working with that Elizabeth, who wrote this article. So it was very nice to hear the critical thinking. I didn't want to talk to you about that, really. I wanted to really cover off a product that we've launched outside of CPI. Right? How can we help the community understand more than just inflation, right? We want to share insights and using indexes as a means to learn what are some of the underlying assets, how do they get used, why are they important, and how can an index help me build a reference point. And so that's really what we want to do. And obviously, it's super topical right now. If you look at what's going on in the market, there is a shareholder meeting today talking about $56 billion in compensation. This is something that took place 10 years ago or something like that. It was voted on, it was approved, no salary for 10 years in return for pure success, bonus-related compensation. And it was based on milestones. The success was far exceeded the anticipation of being able to hit those milestones. Were all ridiculed. There was no way you can achieve that, et cetera, et cetera. And so today is that final meeting. The courts in Delaware denied the bonus payment. And so it's gone back to shareholders to vote again. After they already have voted on it and already approved it, they're going back again to approve the final payment. And so let's see how that goes. Hopefully it comes through. I think we need to reward entrepreneurs. We need to be able to take risk. And as an entrepreneur, you take no payment for a long time. You sweat it through. You go through really hard times. You sleep on the factory floor. You sleep in the office floor, on a sofa, on whatever, the floor in some cases. So there, we had, remember there was a book, I don't know if you remember, but there was a really cool book back in the dot-com boom. It was The Nudist on the Late Night Shift. So some guy was working in the office all night long, and ultimately I think he took his clothes off and was working in the nude because he felt free that way and kept him going all night long. I don't know if that's true, but that's the name of the book. It's out there. But we should be rewarding entrepreneurs for the efforts and the hard slog and the time and multitude of hours that they put in, and hopefully in return for hopefully making it through. It's that persistency, that tenacity that helps make these companies successful. Anyway, so we wanted to go in and talk about EV vehicles. So Truflation, as some of you may have known and heard of, have launched an EV commodity index. What is an EV commodity index? So what we tried to do was look at electric vehicles and not necessarily allow you to invest or give you a benchmark in terms of what are the companies that are building around EVs, BYD, Tesla itself, Rivian, or other companies' shares, but actually look at the raw underlying commodities, which help ultimately drive inflation, right? Because if the commodities are really expensive, it's going to cost you a lot of money to build a car. And so we looked at that and broke it down. And here you can see we looked at the types of EV vehicles. So you'll learn and read here that there are 4 types of EV vehicles. There are the 4. We then looked at the production volume per vehicle type. And so you can see the breakdown of that volume. And then ultimately, what are the metal intensity in terms of which types of metals are used for each of the cars? And then how does that broken down? We put that together into an index. And so here you can see the index. You can see cobalt, copper, nickel, palladium, platinum, and lithium are the core ingredients. And we just started with those. There are a couple of others that we'll go through a bit later on, but that's what were there. And so we just wanted to build this out. And in essence, a basket, compile a basket based on what is needed per ton and how much that costs, right? And so here you can see the different costs per different items. And up here, you can then see how much of that is needed in order to put a EV together. So you need at least $10,000 to fund an EV vehicle, the average EV vehicle, right, across the different 4. And what we've done is how many tons can you buy with 1 Bitcoin? And so that you can see here, you can get a 6x multiple with a Bitcoin to buy what you could buy with $10,000. So that's sort of what we put together and for you to see and play around with. But why are we doing this? Why do we feel this is important? We feel that in the crypto world, we need to evolve. We need to educate more, not just around meme coins, but educate more around indexes and how do we help with indexes and then making that an ability to trade on that. By the way, you know, if you look at the meme coin industry, you know, the memeonomics are now a $70 billion industry, right? So it's a big, significant industry. So there are people that are looking, and especially either the young generation or the new institutions that are looking for alternative products to invest in, right? There was a meme coin index ETF put together by FanEck, but also the younger generation, the 19 to 29-year-olds want to invest in new products to generate new sources of wealth, identify new sources of wealth. All of these new sources needed a source of truth. That source of truth has to be able to provide insights as to how it is being priced and education associated with that. And that's what Truflation is really trying to do. But if you look at the EV market, right? So I'm going to go and share with you a bit more about the EV market, where that's going, why it's important, and what that means. I mean, if you look at the EV market, if you were to just buy stocks, you know, you wouldn't be doing too well, right? I mean, here's a graph that was put together. You can see up here, you know, Nikola seems to perform pretty well. But you look at all the other listed companies, you know, they've all dropped below 0%. You've lost money with all of them, including Tesla. And so it doesn't look very good, does it? NIO is the new one. I was just in Holland, in Amsterdam, and there were NIO shops in downtown Amsterdam. So pretty interesting. Not to mention that there were Tesla shops there as well, but NIO, I'd never heard of that. And so it was interesting to see. Fisker, not doing too well at all. But anyway, that's if you were to buy stocks, that's where you would perform. How would you perform if you bought commodities, right? So we can go back here and just say, what and how did the different commodities perform? How did cobalt perform? Not too good either. You'd be a bit down. But if you bought copper, excuse me, it'd be up, right? So it'd be looking good. Nickel, be a bit flat, a bit of a speak there. Palladium, platinum, you know, precious metal. And then lithium, really important for the batteries. Also down significantly, right? A lot of it spiked around the October timeframe last year, and then it's come down since. So wonder why. I guess not many people are excited about EV right now. But anyway, we saw what that happens. I think, you know, that's sort of a really important element right now. The other thing is, I don't know, I just stumbled upon this. ARK Invest is a fund manager. Follow them, check them out. They're really big. And they're very big in sort of new innovative categories, right? They also believe that innovation is the way forward. This is how we're going to fund our way out of debt. But we have to let the innovators and leaders move and grow and progress and not burden them with lots of cumbersome hurdles, so that in a entrepreneurial environment, it's hard enough to launch a new business. So why put on more burden, more complexity, more challenges for such individuals that are going to drive to do this? Anyway, they put together a really good set of reports, not only on Tesla, but they put and expect the Tesla to move to 2,600. Right now, the Tesla's about $180. So if you think about it, if you believe that by 2029 it's going to be 2,600 per share, check it out. And that's their expected case. They have a bull case of $3,100. So you're likely to make more than 10x on your investment in a Tesla share today. So asset price appreciation is a very different appreciation to the consumer price index that we track. So check out your assets and invest in assets every single month. Compound it, right? Think about it. Every time you put in $100, $10 a week, $100 a month, anything you can do, that extra cash that you might have, put it into an asset. That asset will appreciate, and over time it compounds. The younger you start, the more appreciation you get. Anyway, and then they've got all of this data here around the EV vehicle. So regardless of what you think, the EV market is a big market. And I'll come into how big that just is, right? And why people are still negative on it. But the biggest manufacturer and the biggest supplier around the world, bar all with manufacturing capability, is Tesla, right? Tesla beats them all. The second is BYD, a Chinese manufacturer. But Tesla is the world's leader, the innovator in this category, not only in the hardware and delivering that hardware, but also in the software. And so I'll go into that a bit more. But if you have time, please check out Cathie Wood and her ARK Invest. They've put together an amazing amount of detail in terms of how they get to this price value. And obviously, you know, EVs matter, right? And so the more track record you have in EV, the more track record you have in building out autonomous driving, the more likely we're going to get to robo-taxis. And their big belief is that robo-taxi kicks in. If you listen to Elon Musk, it's about the batteries, but in this case, it's really about robo-taxis, and that's what they built. Not only have they made this data available on a blog post, they've actually open sourced all of their Excel spreadsheet models. So here you can go and look at over the last, every year they put these together. Check them out. Go download, do your calculations and make your assumptions, right? And so here is just an example of the models they pulled together. You can actually go into it. You can click, here are the table of contents, the different inputs, the evaluation tables, right? So they look at micromobility, neighborhood EV, next-gen Cybertruck. So they look at all the different cars, how they perform, and they build growth models according to a Monte Carlo valuation. Check that out if you want to learn a bit more. Anyway, all I'm trying to say here, a lot of data available at Truflation. We try to make this data really easy for you to understand. And at ARK Invest, they provide you with the raw data to be able to work with it and then really make your own conclusions. And ideally, you provide them back with additional input so that they can improve their models. But that's really interesting. And I think you see all of that data here. Yeah, just check out these spreadsheets. I shared with you the GitHub repo. I mean, we'll provide you with all these links in here, but here, just look at the GitHub repo. You can see all the years that they've been providing you with detailed valuation. So you can even go back to 2024 and see how their estimation worked compared to the estimation that they're putting together. And this is what these spreadsheets look like. So you can have a look in here, here. So really interesting models, good learnings, good insights, right? But I think really one of the things why we took commodities is we tried to look at what these cars are made of, right? What is an EV and what are the materials needed for EVs, right? And one of the things was, we call it rare earth materials. So if you look in here, graphite, copper, nickel. We don't yet have all of these in our index because we still need to source reliable pricing. And if you remember, Truflation takes 3 price feeds for every item that we bring to you to ensure uptime, to ensure reliability, and to be able to verify that data and not have big deviations and swings in the price, because you've got 3 price feeds, and then if something swings and is an anomaly, that gets noticed. But if you look at the rare earths here, we then tried to look at what are the rare earths and how do they fit into that, right? And so everybody seems to, and hopefully remembers, the periodic table, which we learned about in school. And this is the periodic tables. And you can see here the big portion of elements that are needed, which are called rare earths, in building a lot of these EVs. So you can see down here and across here. So interesting sets. And then what do all of these mean? I mean, I don't even know what they mean, all of them, but there are some really interesting ones. And if you look, where do they come from, right? To a large extent, 44% of them come from China. 44 million tons of all of those rare earths. Asia seems to be very big, with Vietnam coming in second, and Brazil also a big source of all of these. So that's where they're coming from. That's where the productions and the reserves lie today. And if you look at what are they being used for, right? So where do we need these rare earth materials? We need them in magnets. So every time you've got a maglev train, a magnetic elevated train, ceramics, you see that in toilet bowls, and other types of ceramics that are used for engines as well. Catalytic converters, glass, we need all of this, but also in cars, right? In alloys. So different types of metal deviations. So that's where we see a lot of these rare earth materials present themselves, right? So you can see here the different rare earths and the different categories where they're being deployed, as I mentioned earlier. And here you can just see in a simple map, 2018 production by tons, you can see where they're coming from. But it's also really interesting to see that these are coming from other areas, right? So there was just a new set of deposits found in the Pacific. So just off Hawaii, just off Tahiti, there were 180 to 100 billion tons have been sourced. But not only in those markets, you also see Norway just came out and announced they've also got a huge amount of rare earth supply. So what does that mean? Supply in the market for rare earth has grown. So if the demand doesn't keep up, and we saw where all these rare earth materials are needed, and the likelihood that the demand is going to grow in those sort of categories is going to be pretty high. So what does that mean for the commodities? Stay tuned. We'll give you another show and tell you and go deeper into each of the commodities separately. But just to give you a picture in terms of, there is a growing supply, there is a cost with extracting that supply. And so where's that going? And EV is one of the big consumers of such rare earth materials. And today you can already see, China is one of the biggest, consumers of all of these, right? And not only does it make MAGA, so we don't only have Make America Great Again, there's also Xi Jinping, who's trying to make China great again. And if you look at all the topics in here, one of the things that they look at is amount of electric vehicles that they sell. And they don't actually sell these vehicles into the US market right now. That's not their biggest market. They're actually bringing these here. This is the graph I wanted to share with you guys. They're heading to emerging markets, right? So they're now exporting some 12 million cars into emerging markets. And just bear in mind, the US market alone, from an annual car sales perspective, is in the range of 12 to 15 million, depending on the type of the year. So in contrast, they need to go to multiple different emerging markets in order to hit combined 12 million cars, right? And you can see where those cars are coming from. Largely, China is the biggest supplier in cars. And what type of cars are they building? They're building EV vehicles. They've bet on that market. And so you can just see that performance and how that's working in that specific market. But it's not going to be easy for them, right? I mean, they've got a whole bunch. And just to give you an example, I want to share with you quickly an example of what these cars are looking like, right? So here's, let me see if I can share this.
Dominate. This is the volume. I know why Chinese cars aren't sold in America. It's because they would dominate. This is the Yangwang U8. It's the luxury arm of BYD. You get LiDAR sensors here, more LiDAR up there. In the front, your main headlights are here, but at night, this entire thing lights up, and it looks amazing. You get one electric motor on each wheel, and combined, it makes 1,180 horsepower. And if you need to do a quick U-turn, watch this. So my charge port is here, and when I open it, this will tell me my charge level.
Very
on this side, you put in gas. That powers your turbo 4-cylinder generator. This doesn't power the car, it just makes electricity for those motors. On a full charge and a full tank of gas, this can do over 600 miles. Inside, you get this panoramic roof that literally has shooting stars, and it can also do this. Ni hao, Yangwang.
我在
Kai Tian Trunk.
收到。
Hey! You also get pillows in your headrest. My seats are heated, ventilated, and massaging. I get a passenger screen, ambient lighting underneath, more ambient lighting up here, and this curved display that works ultra fast. You also get a front and rear locker, 50-watt charging pads, a built-in cooler, storage space under here, and what's this? Smile. You also get this driver display with touch controls, this gorgeous steering wheel, tons of space in the back, a screen here, another one there, a third screen here, and another wireless charging pad. Not only are my back seats heated and ventilated, they can also massage me. Even my trunk has leather, wood, and suede, and look how big it is. It also has hydraulic suspension and can float in water.
So yeah, just one. Exactly. And you know, I think one of the things that's really interesting is that is quite a good product, right? And you actually are using gas and an engine to act as a generator to feed the batteries so that you can drive further with that, you know? So it's actually really powerful to see such competition come to the market. And I think that's why you're seeing initiatives to put in 100% tax in the US by Biden. And not only that, even the EU just announced they're giving Chinese EV vehicles 38% tariffs on top of that. So all of these participants, that the elitists that were out there sharing, oh, we want to build a global economy, we got to work friendly together, and ooh, by the way, we want to hit net zero by 2040 and be carbon neutral. All of a sudden, those goals, whoosh, they're gone out the window. Where did they go, right? So they've sort of changed their narrative a lot, right? And the sentiment a lot. Why? Especially in Europe. The economy is super dependent on the automotive industry, right? Think about it. You got Renault, you got Skoda, you got Volkswagen, you got Mercedes, you got BMW, Volvo, you know, you got all these different car types that are, you know, Fiat, Ferrari, you know, just Peugeot, Renault, you know, I don't know, Citroën, you know, all these industries that are really dependent on car manufacturers. And in the US, equally so, right? You got GM, you got Ford, you got Chrysler. All of them are really heavily engaged with union auto workers that are there trying to support and build cars. They've built their factories around combustion engine cars. And so it's going to be very challenging for them to switch and be able to very quickly compete. And you're competing against some of these big manufacturers that you can see here, who are the manufacturers in the automotive industry in China. And I can tell you, my first startup was in China. I built and mobile networks in China and was on the ground. 我会讲普通话, so I can speak Chinese. I learned it hard knocks on the ground in Wuhan, Tianjin, Qingdao, Shenyang, hardcore cities as we were building out mobile networks together with China Unicom. And so as those networks started to grow, I met a lot of companies investing big in China. And China did a very smart thing at the time. They decided to build a framework to not encumber foreign investment, attract foreign investment. However, you had a very simple guideline that was your framework. JV with a local partner, a must. So, okay, I want to invest. I see lots of new car sales, and you can look at the numbers here, huge numbers that we're seeing right now. And so if you look at those numbers, then it's a very attractive. SAIC, they learned about car manufacturing from Volkswagen. They were the biggest Volkswagen manufacturer. Chang'an Mobile, they worked with Chrysler. They built the Jeep in China, the Chrysler Jeep. Dongfeng, they worked with the French manufacturers to build out in Wuhan, outside Wuhan, big manufacturing plant, et cetera, right? So you can see the way these car manufacturers started to evolve was they did a JV partnership, learned manufacturing technologies, processes together with their international counterparts. And as a result, they managed to then, like every startup, any business around the world, people quit their jobs. They got a bad boss. They got an idea. They see a market opportunity. Those entrepreneurs want to go out and set up on their own. In China, they do that as well. They got VC funding. They got their business off the ground. They got tax credits from governments in order to set up manufacturing capability in another city, to be able to attract talent and educate that talent to come and develop around a new manufacturing facility. And all of a sudden, some of them were successful, some of them collapsed. We don't hear about the ones collapsed. I mean, ultimately, because maybe whatever reasons, but we hear about the ones that did it. And these are the ones that are on the list today. We have BYD up there as well. You got Geely and the big manufacturer. I think they're the ones that bought Volvo. I'm not sure who bought Volvo, but that was one of the car manufacturers as well. So you can just see building these frameworks are a much more successful model versus just tariffs. Pay me once and I don't learn anything. I don't get competitive in my country. I don't need to change. I'm just building a tariff so I can feed the bureaucracy that I already have today. And in fact, I can put more bureaucracy in place because I need to now do audits and controls on the items, where they're shopped in from, and then how to tax those. So those are all things that China did really well in the learning curve, and everybody did fall for it and set up JVs as a result out of it. But that was just one learning. And bear in mind, today we're in a position where, in China, you have over some 45% of the retail market are using EV, as of May. So it's not whether we like it or not. They are building EV for their own market. It's maybe not as big as the 15 million US market, but the domestic market in China with 1.3 billion people in a retail world. And it's not only because they have the advantage, because they've got the rare earth materials in China, but they also have a huge demand for energy in that market as the economy evolves. Where are they going to get that energy from? They're not going to get it from oil because they have to buy the oil from Saudi Arabia or from the US or from Russia or from OPEC nations, right? So that's what they have to do. So they've decided, how do we build out an economy that's going to be reliant on some of the rare earth materials that we have here and are not going to be solely dependent on oil? And so that's what they started to do. And they've made that headway with this. They may call it we're greenwashing as a result. That may be possible, but either way, they've managed to get deeper penetration with EV vehicles. And bear in mind that if you drive from Shanghai to Beijing, it's not a quick 15-minute drive or 300-mile drive. That is a longer drive that's going to take you a whole day, 8 hours, 9-hour drive. So it's going to take quite a while to do that. And that's just from Shanghai to Beijing. Now, if you want to go from Beijing all the way down to Guangzhou, that's going to take you a couple of days. Very similar as it would take you to go across the US. So anyway, that's just giving you some perspective on where the EV industry is. And we believe that after this election year, EV vehicles in the US are going to be, going through a huge innovation cycle and are going to adopt some of the learnings. The advantage is all of these cars, as you saw in the demo, are using LiDAR, which is a very different technology versus the imaging technology that Tesla has decided to deploy and build out AI capacity with that. And the number of miles you saw in some of the graphs there are far greater from the Tesla vehicles and then they are from other vehicles. So really interesting evolution there, something to follow, monitor, and see how you can participate in the trades associated with this EV commodities. Where can you find tokens? Where can you participate in these products to be able to get engaged in the underlying commodities? I must say, we did partner with a metal trader at the beginning to launch this product. And so we're very happy to have worked with them on the beginning. They ran into some issues and ultimately decided to go a different path. And we just brought this out to you and hope you like that. And I just wanted to share some insights. But I think one thing is why we really believe that the EV industry is really going to take off. Invest Answers, check it out. They have a great YouTube video. They update maybe 2 or 3 videos every single day. Really good. James is really smart over there. Very metrics driven. Big Tesla buff as well. And so he put this together and he compares ICE vehicle like a high-end Mercedes and a Tesla Model 3. Compares the price, and then you look at the additional cost that you need. You have to drive it all yourself. The maintenance cost, etc. So you can just see once you go EV, you don't go back to ICE. ICE standing for injection combustion engine or internal combustion engine. I'm not quite sure what the I is, but it's either of those two. And that's why we think that EV vehicles will just dominate. They will get further in their capacity. Look at this. They go faster, quicker, faster. They hit top speeds that are faster. They are more efficient. They're cheaper to maintain. They're a bit heavier, but they're also a lot cheaper. And that includes cheaper embedded with all of these other panoramic roof. You have to pay more, etc. So once you go EV, you don't go back. And I personally can attest to that. I never thought I'd get an EV vehicle. I rented a EV vehicle and I've stuck with it since, and I haven't gone back to ICE. And I don't want to rent a combustion engine vehicle anymore. So that's why we built out for you the EV commodity index. And we're really happy to have a partnership with Overlay. Overlay is a decentralized exchange where you will be able to trade this index. And you will be able to trade some of the underlying commodities as well on their decentralized exchange. So really happy to see that, and stay tuned. We're doing a podcast with the Overlay team as well on this specific product, their background, why they chose this, etc. Hope that gives you a bit of background, some context, some learnings associated with EV vehicles, and some where and why we launched this index, and hope you like that. And I don't know if there are any questions in here. I can't really see the questions because I don't have the right kind of setup right now. But if there are any questions, please share. And if not, I thank you. I'm going to go. This is way longer than I thought it was going to be. It's 38 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did like it, let me know. If you thought it was too long, happy to reduce it. If you want conversation around other tables, other topics, let us know. We'll try to build this out and customize and make this more akin to what you like. And if you'd like it more interactive, happy to do that. And what we'll do at the next session on Tuesday, we'll maybe try to answer a bit of the questions that some of you had shared in advance as it relates more to topical events, topical news, and to Truflation itself. So I'll take those on next time, but I think 40 minutes is a bit long for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, you can listen to it at 2 speed if you didn't listen to it live, so you can go through it faster. Hope you found the data interesting. And until Tuesday, have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody.